Astute Quotations, Part 12. The only way three may keep a secret is if two of them are dead. Benjamin Franklin. It could probably be shown by facts and figures that there is no distinctly Native American criminal class except Congress. Mark Twain. Basic research is what I am doing when I don't know what I am doing. Wernher von Braun, German-American rocket scientist. From Abraham Lincoln, responding to advisors who complained about the drinking habits of General Grant. You just tell me the brand of whiskey Grant drinks. I'd like to send a barrel of it to my other generals. He who wishes to lead the people must walk as if behind them. From the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. I like long walks, especially when they are taken by people who annoy me. Fred Allen, comedian from the golden age of radio. A sheep that's too tame is sucked by too many lambs. French proverb. You can't live a perfect day without doing something for someone who will never be able to repay you. John Wooden, former head basketball coach at UCLA. All cruel people describe themselves as paragons of frankness. Tennessee Williams. The elevator to success is out of order, but the stairs are always open. Sales trainer Zig Ziglar. Great geniuses have the shortest biographies. Emerson. As I grow older, I pay less attention to what men say. I just watch what they do. Andrew Carnegie. Be a hard master to yourself and be lenient to everyone else. Henry Ward Beecher. A great writer is, so to speak, a second government in his country, and for that reason no regime has ever loved great writers, only minor ones. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Women have a special place in their hearts for sins they have never committed. Cornelia Otis Skinner, author and actress, 1901 to 1979. You can always tell a Harvard man, but you can't tell him much. Attributed to author James Barnes, 1866, 1936. The mill cannot grind with the water that is past. Proverb from the early 17th century. There will be 2 buses leaving the hotel for the park tomorrow. The 2 o'clock bus will be for those of you who need a little extra work. The empty bus will leave at 5 o'clock. Dave Bristol, baseball manager for the Milwaukee Brewers. Once, during Prohibition, I was forced to live on nothing but food and water. W.C. Fields. If you can cut the people off from their history, then they can be easily persuaded. Karl Marx. Sounds like the motto of MTV. He who refuses praise only wants to be praised again. Rochefoucauld. They who love most are least valued. English proverb. I used to be Snow White, but I drifted. Mae West. When a man succeeds, He does it in spite of everybody and not with the assistance of everybody. E.W. Howe, Country Town Sayings, 1911. Fortunate people never correct themselves. They always fancy they are in the right as long as fortune supports their ill conduct. Rochefoucauld. Self-reliance, the height and perfection of man, is reliance on God. Emerson. He who waits for time loses time. Italian proverb. Not sweeping generalizations, but careful judgment of the border between perseverance and obstinacy. Ernest Braun, British physicists. Scientists would rather use each other's toothbrushes than use each other's terminology. Candace Pert, from her book Molecules of Emotion, 1997. A memorandum is written not to inform the reader, but to protect the writer. Secretary of State Dean Acheson, 1893 to 1971. As the births of living creatures at first are ill-shapen, so are all innovations, which are the births of time. Francis Bacon. My loathings are simple: stupidity, oppression, crime, cruelty, soft music. Vladimir Nabokov. Measure your mind's height by the shade it casts. Robert Browning. People will not look forward to posterity who never look backward to their ancestors. Edmund Burke, 1729-1797. The man who dies rich dies disgraced. Andrew Carnegie. All men are ruined on the side of their natural propensities. Edmund Burke. Don't take the fence down until you know why it was put up. Robert Frost. When I give to the poor, they call me a saint. When I ask why the poor have no food, they call me a communist. Helder Camara, Brazilian priest, 1909-1999. And the devil did grin, for his darling sin is pride that apes humility. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, 1772 to 1834. He that first cries out, "Stop, thief," is often he that has stolen the treasure. William Congreve, 1670 to 1729. The eye of a master does more work than both of his hands. Proverb from the 18th century. Have no fear of perfection. You'll never reach it. Salvador Dali. In preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Eisenhower. Governments always tend to want not really a free press, but a managed or well-conducted one. Lord Radcliffe, 1899 to 1977. Whosoever, in writing a modern history, shall follow truth too near the heels, it may happily strike out his teeth. Walter Raleigh. The greater the truth, the greater the libel. Proverb from the 18th century. When the eagles are silent, the parrots begin to jabber. Winston Churchill. We've got 'em. General George Custer on being attacked at Little Bighorn in 1876. One test result is worth 1,000 expert opinions. Werner von Braun. We are healed of suffering only by experiencing it to the fullest. Marcel Proust. When people feel deeply, impartiality is bias. Lord Reith, 1889 to 1971, and he was the head of the BBC. Never mention rope in the house of a man who's been hanged. 16th century proverb. A special ability means a heavy expenditure of energy in a particular direction, and with a consequent drain from the other side of life. Carl Jung. People on the same trade or people of the same trade seldom meet together, even for merriment and diversion, but for the conversation ends in a conspiracy against the public or in some contrivance to raise prices. Economist Adam Smith. It is not the employer who pays the wages. He only handles the money. It is the product who pays the wages. Henry Ford. Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. Henry Ford. I know the disposition of women. When you will, they won't. When you won't, they set their hearts upon you of their own desire. Terence, from the 2nd century BC. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing it is stupid. Einstein. The essence of a genuine professional man is that he cannot be bought. H.L. Mencken. Few men have enough virtue to withstand the highest bidder. George Washington. Strategy is a system of makeshifts. Helmut von Moltke, German general. Think like a wise man, but express yourself like the common people. Yeats. What is a weed? A plant whose virtues have not yet been discovered. Emerson. When you have done a fault, always be pert and insolent as though you were the injured person. Jonathan Swift. Defined in psychological terms, a fanatic is a man who consciously overcompensates a secret doubt. Aldous Huxley. The critical period in matrimony is breakfast time. Author A.P. Herbert. The New York Times Book Review is alive with the sound of axes grinding. Gore Vidal. It is human nature to hate the man you have injured. Marcus Claudius Tacitus. The eternal stars shine out as soon as it is dark enough. Thomas Carlyle. Definition of lying per Winston Churchill. Terminological inexactitude. Strong and bitter words indicate a weak cause. Victor Hugo. Put all your eggs in one basket and then watch that basket. Mark Twain. It is frequently a misfortune to have very brilliant men in charge of affairs. They expect too much of ordinary men. Thucydides from the 5th century BC. The more you say, the less people remember. Fenelon. Keep your face to the sunshine, and you cannot see the shadow. Helen Keller. An obstinate man does not hold opinions, but they hold him. Alexander Pope. Favor and honor sometimes fall more fitly on those who do not desire them. Livy from the 1st century AD. Show me a sane man, and I will cure him for you. Carl Jung. Too bad that all the people who know how to run the country are busy driving taxicabs and cutting hair. George Burns. I fear the Greeks, even when they bring gifts. Virgil, from the Aeneid. The mouse that hath but one hole is quickly taken. George Herbert, 1593, 1633. Constantly choose rather to want less than to have more. Thomas à Kempis. Wickedness is weakness. Milton. The best way to predict the future is to design it. Buckminster Fuller. The features of our face are hardly more than gestures which force of habit has made permanent. Marcel Proust, from Remembrance of Things Past. Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of men of old. Seek what they sought. Basho, Zen poet, 1644-1694. The secret of patience is doing something else in the meantime. Spanish proverb. When faced with the choice between changing and proving there's no need to do so, most people get busy on the proof. John Kenneth Galbraith. Don't ever let me catch you singing like that again, without enthusiasm. Frank Sinatra to his son, Frank Jr. Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. Oscar Wilde. The end move in politics is always to pick up a gun. Buckminster Fuller. Always make the audience suffer as much as possible. Film director Alfred Hitchcock. Between two evils, I always pick the one I never tried before. Mae West in Klondike Annie. When hope is taken away from a people, moral degeneration follows swiftly after. Pearl S. Buck. No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. Saint Ambrose, 4th century. See everything, overlook a lot, correct a little. Pope John the 23rd. The art of being wise is the art of knowing what to overlook. William James. Puritanism is the haunting fear that someone, somewhere, may be happy. H. L. Mencken. There is one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. Victor Hugo. If morals make you weary, depend on it, they are wrong. Robert Louis Stevenson. Moral indignation is jealousy with a halo. H.G. Wells. Belief is when someone else does the thinking. Buckminster Fuller. When kindness has left people, even for a few moments, we become afraid of them. Willa Cather. If you're not out on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Anonymous. There lives more faith in honest doubt, believe me, than in half the creeds. Tennyson. I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have. Leonardo da Vinci. There is only one way to find out if a man is honest. Ask him. If he says yes, he's not honest. Groucho Marx. My music is best understood by children and animals. Igor Stravinsky. The older one grows, the more one likes indecency. Virginia Woolf. A man who will steal for me will steal from me. Theodore Roosevelt. You see that freaking fish? If he'd kept his mouth shut, he wouldn't have got caught. Mob boss Sam Giancana pointing to a stuffed swordfish in a seafood restaurant. A man cannot make a pair of shoes rightly unless he does so in a devout manner. Thomas Carlyle, 1795 to 1881. Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. Thomas Edison. The best way to show that a stick is crooked is not to argue about it, but to lay a straight stick alongside it. D. L. Moody, Boston Evangelist, 1837-1899. It is as hard for the good to suspect evil as it is for the bad to suspect good. Cicero. Dancing is a perpendicular expression of a horizontal desire. George Bernard Shaw. The way to be a bore is to say everything. Voltaire. The singer will have to go. Rolling Stones producer Eric Easton in 1963. There is no growth except in the fulfillment of obligations. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. If you don't get what you want, go get something better. Anonymous. Every man must carry his own sack to the mill. Italian proverb. The essence of romance is uncertainty. Oscar Wilde. Fast nickels are better than slow dimes. Attributed to Jewish merchants on New York's Lower East Side in the early 20th century. A bad workman always blames his tools. Unattributed. The dog doesn't bark for you, he barks for your food. Portuguese proverb. The men liked to put me down as the best woman painter. I think I'm one of the best painters. Georgia O'Keeffe. It often happens that I wake at night and begin to think about a serious problem and decide I must tell the Pope about it. Then I wake up completely and remember, I am the Pope. John the 23rd. It's hard to lead a cavalry charge if you think you'll look funny on a horse. Adlai Stevenson. Words as we know them usually lack the power to elicit positive change in a person. Wilhelm Reich. Many people might have attained to wisdom had they not assumed that they had already possessed it. Seneca, 1st century AD. There has never been but one question in all civilization: how to keep a few men from saying to many men, "You work and earn bread, and we will eat it." Abraham Lincoln. Follow the money trail. Heard on the street. The wicked are always surprised that the good can be clever. Vauvenargues, 1715 to 1747. It is the nature of all greatness not to be exact. Edmund Burke, 1729 to 1797. Lying to ourselves is more deeply ingrained than lying to others. Dostoevsky. Whenever you fall, pick something up. Oscar Wilde. It is irresponsible to trust the untrustworthy. Werner Erhard. Those who do not feel pain seldom think that it is felt. Samuel Johnson. If there is no wind, row. Latin proverb. If your ship doesn't come in, swim out to it. Jonathan Winters. I was able to see an opportunity until it had, let's rephrase that, I was seldom able to see an opportunity until it had ceased to be one. Mark Twain. The best way to find a helping hand is at the end of your arm. Swedish proverb. God is a comedian performing before an audience that's too frightened to laugh. Nietzsche. In flying, I have learned that carelessness and overconfidence are usually far more dangerous than deliberately accepted risks. Wilbur Wright. Scoundrels are always sociable. Arthur Schopenhauer. He was like a rooster who thought the sun had risen to hear him crow. George Eliot. Few great men can pass personnel. American writer Paul Goodman. People count up the faults of those who keep them waiting. French proverb. President Eisenhower once asked the great golfer Sam Snead for some advice on his swing. Snead replied, "Mr. President, put your ass into the ball." To know the road ahead, ask those coming back. Chinese proverb. A man's home is his castle until the queen arrives. From the Red Hat Society. Don't buy the house, buy the neighborhood. Russian proverb. The best parachute folders are those who jump themselves. Dr. Phil McGraw. In times of great danger, you are permitted to walk with the devil until you've crossed the bridge. Bulgarian proverb. This completes Astute Quotations Part 12.